Hi guys, welcome to another episode on Alpha Craftz. So today you must be thinking, why on earth has this guy got computer parts with a computer case? So today I will be making a computer from scratch and building my first ever PC, which will be used to design things for Alpha Craftz as well as editing videos. So please do remember to like, subscribe and watch this video with your friends and your family, and make sure to share it too. So let's go through the products that I've actually bought in order to make this PC build. But before that, let me give a shout out to Matt Johnson on YouTube, who actually makes PC builds on a massive scale, who gave me the inspiration to go and make this video and to make this PC build, as well as that Rylan, who has helped me, and Vinod, who has helped me to actually make this PC. As well as this, if you are looking to make your own PC, there is a website called the PC Part Picker. If you go onto that website and put the parts that you are looking to buy, it will show you if it's compatible or not, and which parts are the best for your PC that you are trying to build. So let's go into the products that I've actually bought for this build. So let's start from the back. So this is the PC case where all the components are going to go into. This is called the NZXT H510, which is called a mid-tower case. So it's not humongous, but it's not too small either. What I did before this was actually order the H210 mini case, which then I found out the parts don't fit in. So in order to make sure that your parts are all compatible, please do check the PCPartPicker.com website in order to make sure all the parts are compatible. Otherwise you're going to be like me and you're going to have to return the parts and then get new ones, and you don't want to be doing that. And that's the first part. So the second product is the actual SSD card. This is a 1TB Samsung SSD card. This is used to store your programs on. People advise not to store files onto this and just have it for programs, and that is what I am going to be doing, because I've got a third product, which is the Western Digital Blue, and this is a 500 gig SSD card which is used to store files instead of programs. So this one is going to be used to store programs, and this is going to be used to store files, as I'll be doing a lot of video editing for 4K files, so I'll be using this SSD card for that, and that will be to store my programs. After this, I've got the actual RAM, which is a 64 gig Corsair Vengeance. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but if I'm wrong, please do let me know, because this is my first ever time building a PC, so do excuse me if I'm not up to the standards of building a PC, but I'm just saying what I know. And I was told that the bigger the RAM, it's better for your computer, especially for videoing and rendering files. That's why I've bought a bigger RAM, which will help me to process files much quicker. And then we've got the motherboard,
which is also known as the B550. It has a gaming edge Wi-Fi, and it connects all the parts together.
Yes, so this is my niece, and she has come out of nowhere to join the video. So yes, this is the motherboard, which is going to be connecting all these compartments together, and we're going to install that into this, and you will see us doing that too. And then we're back to the final two products, and this is known as the power supply, which is the RM850X Corsair fully modular power supply, which will give all the power to the actual computer and the motherboard, etc, etc. And finally we've got this bad boy here, which is called the Nvidia 3070, not the 370, otherwise all of you guys that are watching me would think I'm gone mad. But this is called the 3070 Nvidia, and this is so hard to get hold of, you know, especially during this time, during the pandemic. So many people want these, especially for Bitcoin mining and for gaming. This is what you need. So I was lucky enough to find this for a good price during this time, and yeah, let's get cracking into the PC build. So you might be thinking you might need loads of tools to make a computer, but the only tool that I'm going to be using is this flathead screwdriver. Sorry, not a flathead, but a Phillips head screwdriver. However, hopefully I won't need a flathead screwdriver, otherwise I would have to go and find one, which is kind of long. So let's try do this. So the first thing you would have to do is take off the side covering. And as you can see on this computer, there is 2 bolts here, which you can just unscrew like this. And you should be ready to take it off. Okay, this one doesn't want to listen to me, so I need to get the actual screwdriver and unscrew it like this. Hopefully this PC works. This is my first ever time doing this. Imagine I do all of this and it doesn't work. And I'm being recorded too. That'll be the most messed up thing of 2021. So hopefully that doesn't happen, and God help me. Okay, so there we go. This is the side case off. And I'll just put this to the side. And as you can see, this is how it looks like from one side. In here is where the power supply is going to go, and the wiring is going to route through here. And as you can see, we've got a box here. Let's check what they've given us. Nothing special, just wires, bolts and little stuff that you need in order to make this PC build work. So it's mainly zip ties, small screws to attach your motherboard. But the most important thing, especially for me, because it's my first ever time, is this instruction manual. Look at that. It's all in Chinese. I don't understand a word in this. Oh, there we go. There's English. So if you ever do get this, don't turn to this page. Otherwise you're going to end up returning the whole case, but there's English on the other side. So do read that. Okay, so I'm going to put this to the side, and the first thing that I'm going to be installing is going to be the power supply. So this guy needs to come out of his box, and there's all the wiring. And since this is a fully modular power supply, it's got all the wiring just straight in and straight out of the actual power supply. As you can see here, it's all been marked on what you need to attach it to. So in order to get this inside the actual PC case, you need to make sure that the fan goes downwards. And as you can see, the 2 sides, the RM850X is upwards this way and it's downwards this way. So I don't know why they've done that, to be honest, but they have. However, the fan needs to go down and you need to see this bit on top. So for this case, there's 2 ways. Well, it depends on which power supply you have. However, I'll show you what I've learnt. So let's go to the other side and I'll show you that. So here, for some power supplies, there will be a casing here which you need to remove before actually installing the power supply. However, on this one, we've got lucky where we can just slide it in. But in order to do that, we need to move these wires and just slide it in like this. So as you can see here, there is 4 holes in order for 4 screws to go in. And if I take out the power supply and I show you guys this, there is 4 holes here which you can use to put the actual screws through. so it holds on to this. So you might be thinking, what screw is he on about? So I don't even know myself, but we're going to find out. How am I going to find out? I'm going to go back to my instruction manual and find out which screw I need in order to fit this. So as you can see on the instruction manual, it says for the power supply you need 4 screws which are labelled A. And if you go to the back where it's not in Chinese and English, it says A screws are 6-32. So if we go onto the screws that they've given us, these are the right screws and this is the 6-32 screws. So we're going to use these 4 screws in order to mount this onto the PC case. Okay, now that the power supply is in, the next bit is to install the motherboard. So in order to install the motherboard, you need to put the case backwards and then take out this side of the actual PC case. But before that, you don't want to be putting stuff underneath it. So make sure the table is all clear. And then you can put it down. Before putting the motherboard in, it's important to ground yourself. So I'm going to do that. No, not my head, don't worry. I'm not going to ground my head, but I'm going to quickly ground myself. And I'm back. So, time to do the actual motherboard. Look at this thing. This is the actual motherboard which we are going to install now. So as you can see, there's the silver bit with the actual USB ports right to the end of the motherboard, which you just clip straight in onto this one. Actually, you don't do that. Yeah. So this one, as you can see, it's clipped in. But it's not secure yet till we screw down the motherboard onto the actual case. So if you want to bring the camera forward, you can see the actual motherboard. So this is the actual motherboard and this is where everything gets connected to. Inside the motherboard box there's a set of instructions which shows where to wire what onto the motherboard. So this will come in handy, especially for new people like me. This will help me a lot. As well as this, is the most important stuff. They're the stickers to stick on your head while you're doing it. So you can do that too if you want to. And then there's other bits and bobs just like these, which I will go through later on in the video. So first, what we need to do is get this motherboard mounted onto the actual PC case. So according to the PC case instruction manual, it says there should be 6 screws or even more, which are going to be these small screws, which are called the 6-32 flat screws, and these are the ones that are going to attach the motherboard to the actual PC case. So let's start doing that. So these are the screws for the actual motherboard. But before doing that, make sure everything's lined up so that when you put the screw in, it goes into the actual PC case. Once the motherboard is installed in, the next thing I'm going to install is the CPU. which is known as the brain of the computer. However, it's a small brain, still only this big. So let's see how we're going to install this. So for this, it's actually an easy process to actually install the CPU onto the motherboard. So as you can see, this is the actual CPU that we're going to be using, and that's going to be going here. But in order to match the CPU into the motherboard, we need to find a triangle on one of the corners. And as you can see here, it's a little mini triangle, which we're going to use to match this triangle on the CPU here. So let's get that done now. So as we can see here, this is the triangle that I was speaking about. And if we look here, there's a little triangle there as well. So these two triangles need to match each other. So in order to install the CPU, we need to take this pin up. So once we pull that lever up, we take the CPU outside its housing and we make sure that the triangles match. So in this case, it will go in like this. And just be careful with this because there's so many pins involved too. So you don't want to damage that either. And it just slots in place and you push this lever back down. And that's the CPU done. So next we have the CPU cooler. So this goes right above the CPU that we just installed. So as you can see, looks like a fan. And this is what keeps the CPU cooled down and it stops it from heating up. Right, this thing is massive. But yeah, let's figure out how to even install this first of all. Right. So as you can see here, there's the thermal paste on the actual CPU cooler. So some aftermarket CPU coolers don't come with this thermal paste, which means that you need to add it on yourself. However, this one has it already, so we can just install it. And as you can see, there's two hinges on the side, and inside the motherboard there's an actual bracket which these two hinges can go onto. So if we put this on, should be able to just attach that in. So as you can see on the two sides, there's two latches, and then there's this thing which you use to pull it down, and then that will be locked in place. And then you'll be asking, where does this wire go? So I need to find out myself. So let's go back to our motherboard installation guide. When we go on this, it will show you where exactly you need to install this. So if we look in the motherboard and we look right here, it says CPU fan, and that's where this is going to get installed in. So some of the stuff are like self-explanatory, but with this, just be careful because the pins are really small, so you can easily bend them if they're not done properly. The next product is the M.2 or the SSD card. So this is going to go just under this. So I'm going to remove these two screws to access the port just below in order to install the actual SSD card. So it doesn't come off with this screwdriver, so that's brilliant. So I need to get a smaller screwdriver in order to take that off. Okay, so I found a screwdriver, and this is all I found, but hopefully it does the job. So when you go in, okay, it nearly did. So just need to be really careful with these screwdrivers. It's coming off slowly. Okay, I'm not going to use this maybe. 10 hours later. So as you can see below, this is the M.2 socket, you could say. So this is the SSD card, or the M.2, which we are going to install in that slot. So this just goes in like this. And as you can see here, there's a hole here and there's a little plastic bit there. So you know you're doing it the right way, as long as you're putting it right there. And that's it, it slides in like that. So here you can see that there is a hole there and a screw needs to go in there. So with the actual SSD card, there is no screws provided. So luckily for us, there is some screws from the actual motherboard, which are really, really tiny. And we're going to be using that to install the motherboard. So let's do that. This little thing is the size of the screw. So as you can see, it's really, really tiny. So it's so easy to get lost. So for a tiny screw, I've got a tiny screwdriver. Let's try put this back together. So once the SSD is installed, we're going to go onto the RAM. So in order to install the RAM, you need to look at the instruction manuals on the motherboard, which shows you where you are going to install the RAM to. So since I'm installing two actual RAM compartments like this, it shows me I need to install it into A2 and B2. So when we go onto the actual motherboard and we check where this is, B2 is the second one and A2 is that. So if you push this to the side, so if I show you like this, and you push this to the side, it will release the clamps so that you can install the actual RAM onto it. So once you take out the RAM from the packaging, you just simply check the pins and the slots below. So it needs to line up with this. So as you can see, the hole there lines up with this. So then just simply put it in here and it should slot in. Just be careful with this too, because there's loads of pins involved on the bottom. So then after that, just put the clamp back up and then that's it. You should hear it click and it's in. And you do the same with the next one too. Just put it in the slots there, hear it click, and hear it click there. Sometimes you might feel like you're bending a pin, but on this one you can apply a bit of pressure so it clips in. And that's the RAM done. So we have a bit of hope, and hopefully this works once I turn it on, and I need to get the wiring done too. So now there's only two more things remaining to install, and then after that we can get onto the wiring. So the next bit is going to be the graphics card. So let's open this and start installing it. Oh, hello beautiful. Look at that. It looks so fresh and clean. This is the thing that is going to give so much graphics and so much visuals, especially for gamers. This is a key thing that you need in your actual PC to make sure you get the right graphics for your game. So let's go on to installing this. So in order to install this, as you can see, there's the chips on the bottom, and here is the actual lining on the motherboard. So this is where it's going to slot into. However, before we do that, we need to remove the backing. So once we remove the backing, we can get the actual graphics card slotted in. So I'm just going to put this graphics card down and start doing that. So as you can see here, when we put that against this, you can see that it takes up around 2 of these cages, or the backing plates. So it's important, or it's beneficial, if you put it next to the CPU. So as you can see on the motherboard, there are 2 slots. There is one on the bottom and there is one on the top. And since this one is closer to the CPU, it's better to install the graphics card onto this one. So I'm going to remove 2 of these slots above. So this screwdriver is useless, so let's try something else. So once the backing plate is off, it's time to install the graphics card. So as you can see here, there is a little U shape or a little slot, and here you can see there's the slot too. So just slot them together and it should fit. So now it's time to install the SSD card or the internal storage, and hopefully this doesn't come tumbling down. And mission accomplished for now anyways. So yeah, now it's to the internal storage, which is this, the Western Digital Blue. We're going to install this on the other side of the actual case. So on this side, so where these plates go, that's where this internal storage is going to go. So on this it says remove before installing, so make sure you remove that. And after that, this should go on around here. I think I've figured it out. So as you can see on this one, there's a screw here. Once you remove that screw, you'll get access to the backing plate. And then once you do, you just get the SSD card, put it in, and as you can see there's 4 holes at the back, and then you get the screw and you just tighten it so it doesn't fall out. So as you can see here, I've taken out the power supply so I can route these cables. So the 3 cables that I've put in so far is the CPU. So the bottom right hand side is the CPU, which is for the CPU that we installed earlier onto the motherboard. And this is the ATX cable which goes straight onto the motherboard, which I will show later on. So the wiring that's done on the motherboard or inside the PC case, I'll show you guys that later, after I've wired the actual power supply. So these cables are pretty self-explanatory. I'm saying this, but hopefully the PC turns on after me saying this. And yeah, it's labeled ATX CPU, so you just look at the pins and look at what it's saying on the actual wiring. So I don't think this one's involved in the actual power supply, as it's not labeled as ATX CPU or anything else. So we will leave this to a side and we'll look at the other wires, and we'll just start putting them into the actual slots so that we can start wiring it into the case. So for example, this one says PCIe and here it says PCIe 2. So we will start wiring all of that in. So let me get that done and I'll show you the next stage. So as you can see, I've put in the wires that I need. So I need an ATX cable, which is these 2. Then below is the CPU cable, and then that is what gets put to the actual CPU inside onto the motherboard. Then there is the PCIe cable. This one goes to, I forgot the name of it. This shows I'm not a computer expert, but that one goes to the graphics card. And then we've got the SATA cable, which goes over to our SSD here. And then there's another cable from the SSD, which we have here, which will go into the motherboard. So I think this side is done. So let's go to the wiring of the actual motherboard, and we'll come back and I'll show you how these get wired to. Now we're onto the other side. So as you can see, I've already put some wires in because I wanted to look at it properly, because it's my first time doing it. So I wanted to wire it in properly first before showing you guys. So this is the ATX cable, I believe, or whichever one that started with A. Let me clarify it. Yes, it's the ATX cable. So this is the one that goes straight into the motherboard. And then we've got the CPU cable, which goes straight into the CPU right in the corner right there, which is an 8-pin plug. And then it's the PCIe cable, which goes straight into the graphics card from the power supply. And then we've also got a few other wires which come with the actual case of the computer. So we've got like HD audio, we've got a USB 3.0 which I've attached right at the bottom here, and on the motherboard it actually says USB 3.02, so it's easy to see which one it goes into. And as well as this, we've got the HD audio plug which we need to put in, as well as another plug which I will figure out what it is pretty soon. And I think there is one more. Yes, there is, and that is for the SSD card at the back and the F panel as well. So SSD card plug won't come through this side, so I've put it through the bottom here, and I'll show you guys how to wire that. So this is where the motherboard handbook comes in handy, because it helps you figure out where everything is, and because this is labelled, it helps a lot too. So all you have to look for is the F panel, the audio panel, sorry, not the audio panel, but the audio on the motherboard, and as well as this wire which I'll find out what it is, and the SSD slot too. So let me read through this and find out where it goes. So finally, 4.5 hours later, I've managed to wire up everything and hopefully it works. So just to finish it off, let me show you guys the wiring. So if you come closer and I'll show you, here is the F panel wiring, as you can see, which comes with the actual PC case, the USB 3.0 wiring that comes with the case, the HD audio wiring which comes with the case, goes straight there. This one is the USB 4, which is used as a USB-C wiring from the top of the actual case, and behind here you can see the SSD cable. So if you want to show a bit closer, you can see the SSD cable just behind here. And this up is the USB-C just behind. So let's try power this up, and if it works, fingers crossed, then we'll start putting everything together, and hopefully we can start editing with this and making more greater designs for you guys. So let's go to the moment of truth. So we've come to the moment of truth, It's the last bit, and we're going to power this on and see if it turns on or if it doesn't. So let's go. So there's the sound, and there's the light, and I can see the motherboard light. It's spinning and it's glowing. Well, let's see. And I think I've done it, guys. So this is the build, and I'll get it all together, and yeah, it's complete. So I'm really happy that it's actually working, especially after 5 hours of actually working on it. I managed to put it on, and this is my first ever build. So yeah, check it out, guys. And if you do like this, and please do follow me and subscribe to my channel so that you can see more craft stuff and more projects which might be out of the craft world but into a different craft world, such as building a PC. So yeah, make sure to subscribe, like and share this video with all your friends and family. I hope you guys enjoyed the video of me making this PC from scratch, and I hope it benefits you too, and I hope it motivates you guys too to make a PC, because there's me who knew nothing about computers and I was able to build it. So if I was able to do it, I'm sure you guys can too. And it's pretty straightforward as long as you get the wiring in and onto the motherboard, and from the modular, from the actual power supply, you just wire it straight through. It's pretty straightforward. So yeah, for those of you who are willing to or looking to make a PC, I would say go for it, guys, because it's a great investment and you save a lot of money too. Because if I was to go and buy a computer around the same specs from a shop, it would have cost me around 2,500 to 3 grand, I would say. So many of you might be asking the question. He said he will mention the price at the beginning of the video, and I still haven't. So let's talk about that now. So this build, it cost me around 1,300 to 1,500 with the monitor too. So I've got a G5 Samsung monitor, which I've bought with this actual PC case and with the other parts that I've got, which my friend really helped me out with, and he told me not to mention his name, but he knows who he is, and he's been a great help to make this build. So yeah, in total I would have spent around 1,300 to 1,500 on this build, going from the case to the graphics card to the motherboard to the CPU cooler which came with the actual CPU, the power supply, the monitor, and I will be looking into getting a new mouse and a new keyboard later on. But for now I will be using my basic mouse and basic keyboard. But yeah, I do motivate you guys, or I do, how do you say it? Not motivate. Well, you can take it as motivate, but yeah, whatever it is, I hope I inspired you guys to go and have your own go at making a PC yourself. And if you did like my videos, please do subscribe, like and share this video with all your friends, and click on the notification button to get notified on the next videos. And the next videos are probably not going to be me making a computer, it's probably going to be me making something, a product. But now that I've got this computer, I could make products much faster, and I could make videos for you guys to see too. So yeah, until next time, peace guys.